Life Check Yourself with Dr. Drayvon James. From self-doubt to unstoppable. How to own your worth and chase your dreams. Welcome to another fantastical episode of Life Check Yourself. Today, I have transformation specialist, Dr. Drayvon James. She's the founder and director of Everyday Peace. She is the author of Freedom is Your Birthright, the host of Dr. Drayvon James' Everyday Peace on Mind, Body, Spirit FM, which is on Sirius XM. She's an actress. I didn't know that. His career credits include a recurring role on HBO's acclaimed The Wire. She's been a leader in the healthcare industry for more than 3 decades. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, how can that be? She looks so young. She's the recipient of the Secretary McDonough Coin of Recognition for her leadership efforts to combat COVID. And she's also the founder of the Next Step Leadership Academy. And she uses all that experience and training to lead women to their next level of greatness in life and business using the power of everyday peace. Her journey began in poverty on the south side of Chicago. I lived in Chicago for a long time, so I know where that is. And she always dreamt of a career on the stage. She went on to earn a doctorate in pharmacy from Creighton University. She's been a pharmacist. Along with her medical career and her theatrical aspirations, she's always had a keen interest in personal development. She read Norman Vincent Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking in college. My dad always used to say, the power of positive thinking. And she went on to make a lifelong study of the power we all have to create the life we want. You are so multi-talented in so many diverse ways. And I'm so excited to have you here on our stage to bring it all together. One of the things that I wanted to chat to you about is this idea about how we sort of become adults, and we get into this idea of adulting, and we get on a path, and it seems for so many women that are listening, it takes them so far away from their passions and their dreams, and then they sort of feel like it's too late. Let's just start with that. Like, what do you think is going on? I mean, first of all, do you think that most of the people out there are not living the life they thought they would have, or doing the thing they really wanted to do, but were told, yeah, don't do that?
Yeah, I do. And I base that on just my own journey and the people that I've had the privilege of coaching over the years. Somewhere along the lines, the people who really loved us and really cared about us told us to be practical. I know my mom did. I was graduating high school, and all I wanted to do was to study theater, and, my mom said, oh, is that practical? Right? So I was good in math and science, and she said, I think you should go be a medical doctor. And I thought, but she, I need the money. So, and she meant well, right? And I think most people who love us tend to maybe not, well, how could they possibly, right, see us,
right,
see into our soul, what makes us click, right? Only we know that. And then we get scared because we don't have somebody validating us. So we have to learn how to validate ourselves first, right? That's adulting 101, is to learn to validate yourself. So we end up doing things that look good on paper. Right. And they're not bad things, but they perhaps are not the thing for us necessarily. So to answer your question in a nutshell, yes, I would say that most people are doing great things with their life that weren't their dream. That was not my goal or dream to be that person, but we make the best of what we have.
It's so funny that you say that, because when you were talking, I just had these distinct memories. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a teacher. I used to set up my stuffed animals on the staircase, line them all up, sit and read them books and things like that. And I remember from a really young age, my dad was always like, don't be a teacher. You'll never make any money. Don't be a teacher. You'll never make any money. And so I did pursue that. What's interesting is I did go back after my divorce. I was like, you know what? Now I'm going to be a teacher. Now, my dad was right. I did not make very much money, but at that time, the skills that I learned when I got my master's, right, in education, have totally served me as a coach and a business owner. And now I am a teacher, right? I just figured out a different way to do it. But I think this is a really interesting thing to think about is if you go back and even if you're not sure what your thing is, that's the question. Was there something, right? Was there something you loved?
Right. Yeah. And for me, and I think we have to ask that of ourselves too. What is it? This is the question. I tell you, senior seminar in high school. I'll never forget this seminar. We came in and the speaker said, okay, there's paper at your seat there. You write down on that piece of paper. I can't remember the question exactly, but it was the thing that you absolutely love to do. Like you lose time when you do it. And for me, that was acting. So I wrote it down and then he turned the paper over. And then he did his whole seminar. I don't remember what he said, but at the end he said, turn your paper over. That's what you study in college. It was senior seminar in high school, right? And I knew it was right. I knew that was it for me. So I went home and I had been in one really, non-school play, but it was a big deal and I'd done really well. And I told Mom, this is what I want to do. She just looked at it. She goes, are you kidding me? Right. So she goes, you get serious and you go to school for something that you can make money with and you can make a living, much like your dad, right? Because they love us and they don't want to see us struggle, right? So that's great. And so much like you, I had my daughter and I looked at her. She wasn't even 6 months old. And I said, I cannot tell this young lady to go and follow her dreams if I don't follow mine. So I started taking acting classes and I pursued acting again while I was still working full time and a new mom. But this is sometimes what is necessary. It may not show up in our lives. Like I love the fact that you got divorced. Not that you got divorced, but that you used that.
It was a good thing.
But that you used that, which could have been a negative. It could have been something that just stuck with you for life. You never grew from that. But you said, you know what? I'm divorced. I'm going to do something great with my life. And you went on and you pursued your dream of getting a master's in education. It may not show up real easy like it really does. It really does. We'll have to figure out a way, but as we pursue it with passion, the doors will open up. We'll still have to put the work in it. That's just life. Many of us will find later in life, okay, now is the season. Or the young people now who seem to be a lot more courageous than what we were, that they do what I call paying the piper early, right? They'll make all those sacrifices now, and either way, it is a sacrifice. Short-term sacrifice, long-term gain doesn't mean you have to suffer. It just means if your dream life didn't show up packaged the way that you wanted it to, it doesn't mean you don't get to have it.
That's so amazing. I was thinking about this because I was just talking to a client earlier today, who's like a consultant. She's like very successful. And she was sharing with me that in her earliest childhood memories, she really wanted to be a medical doctor, and her family, different than yours, the opposite. That's too hard. Like it takes too much work. We don't have anyone in our family who's done that. How do you know you're going to be successful at it? Blah, blah, blah. When we're younger, we believe to some extent, depending upon how we're raised, that anything is possible. Is that just something that is reserved for people who have a longer runway ahead of them than people like in our middle age or midlife? What do you think?
So it definitely is true. If you think back to childhood, and I had 2 children who are now young adults, right? And I remember they're fearless. Anything's possible. And you watch them go along in life and they get a few disappointments. And for some reason, this is how we're wired, right? Well, I can tell you the reason, but here we are. We're wired in such a way that the hard times weigh on our memory for such a long time. The things that hurt us and the disappointments, we tend to focus there and we don't put as much attention on the great things that happen, And so we have to switch our focus, switch our consciousness first and become really a person who is so tuned in to, oh my gosh, this great thing just happened to me. I don't care if it's just seeing a sunrise or sunset, right? Whatever it is, change your focus, tweak that. But we can get that joyful feeling of anything's possible. And if you really think about it, those of us who have lived some time on this earth and had some experiences, that feeling should be so prevalent in us, because if we were to really think over the things we have seen and the troubles we thought we'd never overcome,
Right.
oh my goodness, we'd have a success story. But see, we focus the wrong way. We focus on, it happened to me, and wasn't it horrible that it happened to me? Instead of, oh my goodness, I triumphed over that. I triumphed over that. I am such a winner. I can do anything. And that's how we should be at this season of life. I have triumphed over so many things. There's no way I can lose. I know I got this.
It's so true, though, when we have these setbacks, the part of our brain that has ever had any disappointment before, like, jumps in and is like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. This doesn't feel very good, putting yourself out there. So how do you frame up, like, what does it take for those people who want to be courageous to actually, kind of discover their dreams, rekindle their passion? What's the way into that?
Right. Well, first of all, I got to tell you something that may sound a little discouraging at first, is that most of my female clients, life coach clients, would tell me, I don't even really know what I want.
Right. Exactly. It's so true.
I don't have any dreams. Because why? We spend so much time being a great mom and a great wife and a great daughter, and those are wonderful things to do. So what I tell them is, well, I'm going to name some things. You could do this too. I said, just start randomly naming things, and you tell me on a scale of 1 to 5 how that makes you feel, right? Excited or not excited? Okay, we got some things that make you feel excited. We're going to try 3 of them this year. And if one of those resonates, we're just going to keep trying and get excited about that, because you're going to have so many new, wonderful experiences. And then from there, you get to pick and say, oh, I like that. I'd like to pursue that. Another thing that I think stagnates women that I have worked with, and I work a lot with women, is that we feel like if we choose something, we have to choose it for life.
Yes, because we're such binary thinkers, right? Yes, no, all in, all out.
Right. And it's so crazy. Now you have to choose it for life. This is not going to be, tattoos are not even for life if you don't want them to be. So you don't have to choose this for life. You just have to choose it for as long as it feels good to you. And when it no longer feels good, you get to put it aside and try something else. But there's this fear that, oh, I'm going to be seen as a fickle woman. I can't make my mind up. Who cares? Variety is the spice of life, and we need to approach our life that way. So those mindsets right there, become curious about yourself, right? And then so that's the fun stuff. You get to explore things. You get to quit things as often as you like and restart. But
wait, I have to interrupt you there, because that is like literally a mic drop thing, right? Like, that is so counterintuitive to what most of us have learned. Like, y'all, listen, hit that little back 10 second thing, right? Like, button. You get to quit things as often as you want. And I think, and I want your opinion for sure, I think, like, this idea that we only pick this one thing and we do it forever and you set it and forget it, it's gonna work, is like, comes from like our parents that worked to get the watch for 50 years or whatever it was. My dad quit a family business when I was 12 years old. I've told this story before on the podcast, but he was in a family business. It was started in 1894. Wow. Yeah, he was like the 3rd generation, right? And he came home from work one day and he's like, I'm quitting the family business. And I was like, my first thing was like, are we going to be poor? Like, I couldn't imagine, right? Like, our family was in this town that was like the whole thing, like the cousin, it was like a whole thing, right? And that was radical for him. But still, even though that happened to me, I felt like that's not what you do. You need to pick a thing and then you should make it work forever and ever. So how do you get our listeners to really take in, like, you are not a failure if you decide to pivot, you can quit.
Yeah. Oh, I love that term, pivot, right? You get to pivot. And we fear failure so much as though it were going to be the end of us. But here is what we as much as we fear it, intuitively we know that it's through those hardships, those things we call failures, that we learn and we grow. When you're on the mountaintop and things are looking great and you're, sunbathing, you're not learning much, right? It is when you're doing that trial and tribulation thing that you're getting to understand what you're made of, where you want to go, you're reassessing, and that's how we learn. So we really, and I'm human too, because who wants to fail? Who wants that feeling? But when you change it and you say, well, what did I learn from that? Here was a learning opportunity. I'm so curious about me. And then here's a phrase I have my clients use when they're afraid of failure or afraid of quitting something, is that no longer serves me.
That's it. Write that down, ladies.
Right, that no longer serves me. And I've got to give you this example. My son, who turns 22 this month, when he was little, he used to love, Sonic the Hedgehog. He loved that. So we were leaving school one day. He was in elementary school, and I don't know why. I watched him doing the whole little Sonic run, and it occurred to me that the person he was today, we had Sonic everything in our house. The person he was today, he won't even remember at 22. Now he's getting ready to turn 22, right? And I'll have to mention this to dinner to him because I bet you Sonic would not, if I were to go to his 22nd birthday dinner and bring him some Sonic coloring books and some Sonic video games, he'd be looking at me like, Mom, are you okay? Right. So we treat ourselves like that. We had that interest 5 years ago, and we're kicking ourselves because we're no longer interested in that. Well, when you do that to yourself again, I want you to think about my son in elementary school who loves Sonic. And at 22 years old, how ridiculous would it be for me as his mom to show up to his dinner and say, I got you some things. I know you love Sonic.
Oh my, I love that example because I had to do that in my own business, right? Like I only was a dating coach. Like that was how I was forward facing for like 13 years. And I was like, and I remember just falling out of love with only doing that and being known as that. And I still do it, but in a different context. And I had that exact thing. I was like, I can't switch now. I've got like 13 years in on this. And like, I almost felt like it wasn't okay for me to not like Sonic anymore, Right. But I love this conversation. But then with what you're saying now is like, well, when I wanted to be a dating coach, like, I was 41 years old. I had just gotten divorced. I had figured out how to date. Finding my first husband was a whole thing. And so that was my passion, right? But then, and here's the other thing too about the Sonic story. When I would go on interviews like this, I started to think, if I have to tell the freaking dating story of how like I dated the bad for me guy again, I might poke my eyes out with a fork because I'm not interested in that anymore. I don't like Sonic anymore. So you just made me understand myself a lot better.
Right. So it's through the eyes of our children. Right. So I want each and every woman on here to think about that because I had I used to coach men and women. I absolutely love men. And when I thought to myself, I'm going to just do women, I thought, well, there goes 50%. And at the time I had mostly male clients, believe it or not. But I said, there's something about talking to women and what it does for me. And we teach that which we need to learn. I love the fact that you started being a dating coach when you got your divorce. It's just how the universe works. It has such a sense of humor. So, but listening and saying, well, that no longer serves me. Plain and simple. How adult, that is like adulting 101. I love the phrase, it no longer serves me.
That's amazing. Okay, I totally interrupted you because I was just so excited about that mic drop moment. But okay, so then what are some ways when you talk to people and they're like, blank stare. I just know I'm unhappy, but I really don't know what I want. And it overwhelms me. And I'm afraid of change anyway. So I'll just go back and like binge watch Netflix and do the same thing again and be on autopilot. What do you say? What's the path?
So I love the fact, first of all, that they can identify, right? When they can identify, that's self-awareness. Once you got that, because believe me, there's people who can't even do that. So once you got that self-awareness, I am overwhelmed by the idea of focusing on me. I'd like to focus externally on the television and all the other things, all the things. Okay, great. First of all, give yourself big brownie points for the self-awareness. What I encourage people to do is, I would love you just to carry around a small little journal. I think I have one. I want to show it for you. So I have like a small little journal like this. I call this my smile journal.
Love a smile journal.
So, and what that is that every time my client or myself, when I do it, catch myself smiling, I jot down what I smiled about. That's it. And then we meet and we talk about the things that made you smile, because we're going to start there. We're going to start. I don't care if, in my journal, not this one, but a previous one, I have that I was really down one day. I was walking in the park. I saw a little girl who had these little sparkly shoes on. They were like Cinderella shoes, and they lit up every time she walked. And it made my day. So what do we know about that from Drayvon? I love sparkly things. If it twinkles, it makes me happy, right? But so I start, think about that. What are some things that I could do that would get that kind of energy? Well, I could take a jewelry making class with sparkly little jewels and gems and things. So it's insight into you. And so a smile journal helps to reframe your focus. We talked about that at the beginning.
Love it.
We are too focused on the things that make us unhappy and feel drained and overwhelmed. So we're going to now focus on the things that just make us smile. And I generally just start there with our clients. I say, okay, let's go over your smile journal from last week, see what we can find there. And we just sort of start talking, and it helps them. The whole journey is a journey inward, right? Because we are so afraid of what we'll find if we look inward. And I'll tell you, if you look inward, you will fall in love with yourself. Absolutely, head over heels, but we're afraid to do it because we remember all the other stuff. Oh, I remember I said this and I shouldn't have said that. I remember I'm so awkward socially. All that other stuff. But if we were really to take a moment, and we can get there through a smile journal, to start beginning our curiosity and our self-awareness, we can then go further from there, right? And discover some more things about ourselves. So that's the first place I like to start. It's really, really simple. People ask me, can I do it on my phone? You can, but it really works best if you have a little journal.
I think this is such a brilliant idea because, first of all, your evil plan is so massively amazing because you're creating a positive cognitive bias. You're noticing what is working, right? You're actually writing it down. So it's like a double hit in your neural wiring, right? And then you're talking about it and then you're like expanding it. Dr. Drayvon is so smart.
So we do all these things, and I love, you have all the science and all the big words, and it's so great. This stuff works. I don't care how simple it sounds. It absolutely works. Another thing that we do, which is really, really good for self-awareness and for reframing, remember, we got to get out of that used to call it stinking thinking when I was younger.
Yeah.
We got to get out of that mind frame. We're going to be that person that is just can turn any rainy day, a gray sky into a sunny day, right? For ourselves. So another thing I like to do is first thing in the morning, I like to have my clients, and I do this, I've been doing it for decades now, is to work on an active gratitude card. So it's just a little card. It could be a piece of paper. I use an index card. I keep them in my nightstand. And the first thing I do, my eyes pop open and I write down 3 things on that card that I'm grateful for that happened yesterday. They had to have happened yesterday. Sometimes I have to struggle, but I don't get out the bed until I do this, right? I write down 3 things that happened yesterday that I'm grateful for. Then I flip the card over and I write down 3 things on that card that I'm grateful for already that have not happened yet, but will happen today. So it frames my thinking because the brain loves to spend time where it's comfortable, and that's in the past. And what do we do when we get in the past? We're full of dread, right? Or regret because we're no longer there, right? So I say, okay, here, if you're going to focus on something in the past, It's going to be these three things, and they're going to make us smile because we're grateful that they happen. Now we go to the future a lot of times, and we get afraid of the future because it's the unknown, right? But we focus on the future that we intend. Our intention is to create these three things and make them very, very small. Don't overwhelm yourself. I have clients that say some extraordinary things, and I read their card. I'm like, I'm exhausted just reading this. So make it small, make it achievable. And this helps to, again, refocus you so you can go into that place of self-awareness, because that's where you're going to find the true you in your pathway to happiness.
Amazing. Okay. So many pearls. Now, I have some clients. I always like to ask questions on behalf of my clients. They're going for the dream, Drayvon. They're like doing the thing, and they keep meeting with obstacles. Mm-hmm. And their little brains start to go into self-doubt, and they're like, well, maybe I'm not meant to do this. Why is it so hard for me? Maybe I should just, give up on this dream. What does this mean? Right? Like when you're pursuing that new exciting thing and it's not, butterflies and rainbows. I know in my own experience of reinvention, there were lots of times there weren't butterflies and rainbows. What do you do when you keep hitting those roadblocks?
So that happens in each and every one of our lives. I'll give you my own personal story. I'm writing my second book. I have been writing it for years, but I finally finished it. It's with an editor. And along the way, so many stumbling blocks, writer's block, all these other things. I'm not good enough. You know how the mind does. And what you have to go back to is your why. Why? And the why must be personal. What is it doing for you? It's wonderful. We as women are engineered to do so much for others. And we love taking care of other people. But the why, when we're talking about this journey of self-discovery, of going to your happy place and achieving your goals and dreams, what is the reason for you? I love you start off by talking about wanting to be a school teacher and going back to, this has always been in you. For me, acting is not easy. All those rejections, right?
Right.
But what is my why? Since the third grade, I've wanted to do this. It makes me feel good, even when I don't get the roles, right? So go back to your why. Have it written down somewhere. Don't be hard on yourself. I want you to be so gentle and tender with yourself as though you were dealing with a middle schooler. Think back.
Oh, I love that.
Right? You're going to watch your words when you talk to you, right? Be very, very kind and gentle. Give yourself time to rest. But if your why still exists in you, then you're not giving up just because somebody didn't buy it or somebody said something negative about it. It's okay. We're here at this season of life. We've seen a lot of things go wrong and we've seen a lot of things go right. We're going to stay the course.
So when I sold my book, it's coming out in February, right? And this last round, to me, there's rounds of rejections, right? It's like acting, right? You're like, that was like the first round, the second round. So this last round before I, got resilient and did my second round, I think I got like over 450 no's.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember every time I would talk to my people that were supporting me and I'd be like, if this isn't it, I'm over it. Like, fuck this, but literally I couldn't because that why was just like this spark of energy that needed to just like, I couldn't like keep it in the pot. And so I feel like once you start to acknowledge the dream, it's almost like once you open it up and you're like, okay, I really want this. You might have those moments, but like, I don't know. It just has to keep going. We just got to do it for a why.
And I love the transparency here, right? Because it happens to all of us. I wish I could say that you'll just want it. You do the hard work and it'll happen. But iron sharpens iron. This is the truth. We know it. And so if your why still exists in you, if it's still existing in you, irregardless of how many naysayers and disappointments, if you still feel that fire in the belly, you're moving forward, you're hanging on. And it just is what it is. It's part of the experience. That's another thing I want to say. Enjoy the journey. Now, I'm going to go back to acting.
Yay!
I love the idea of preparing for an audition. I love the idea of standing in front of that room of strangers and becoming somebody entirely. The journey is amazing for me. So when you love the journey, right, the outcome doesn't become so anxiety ridden.
I love
You
that.
you can relax, and you can just enjoy it. You wrote the book. If two people read the book and one of them has change in their life, positive change, it was well worth it because each and every one of us is important. If you write the book and 50,000 people buy it the first day, congratulations.
Right.
Either way, you do what you're meant to do and you enjoy the journey.
I think that is really just so important. And I'm to the point now, like when I'm writing essays and things like that, I just submitted something and it got rejected. And I said, I'm in a little writing group. And I was like, yay, this person wrote me back and rejected me so fast. That's amazing. I prefer the fast rejection than the slow rejection.
But you find something to be grateful for, right?
Well, yeah. And it means I'm doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like I just started writing again. After writing the book, which because you just have your book to the editor, after you send it off, you just need a whole minute, just be like, whew, right? And so now I'm like writing again and doing things. And I'm just like, wow, I'm back at it. Like I'm submitting, I'm getting rejected. I got a yes. Like that's the journey, right? And I think what you're saying is like, if it is inside of you, if it is your soul driven mission of a why, and you're doing it because it's part of your just expression of who you are, then you can identify that as enjoying the journey. And that has value, right? Just in itself.
Jen, because here it is. You are the work of art. You are. It really isn't the book. It's you, the artist, the whatever. It's you who is the work of art. So you do something. Quick story. I always wanted to work with clay. It looks so wonderful. It is so hard. So I took a course and my project, I have no idea. It looks like nothing that anybody else's look like. But let me tell you, end result, not what I wanted, but I love the idea of being at that little wheel and just having just the joy, just that gave me joy. And I really want for every listener here to experience the joy of doing something and not being attached to the outcome. You deserve that. You deserve that kid-like feeling.
Yes.
When like playing with the dolls, you said reading to them on the steps. No outcome in that. The dolls are not going to sit and applaud you, right? You're teaching them and you're reading to them, but you have this feeling of accomplishment. That is how we become a magnet for our good in life. We create that energy around us. It's like, I'm just going to live and exist in my happy place. The results do not matter. And that's when the results actually happen.
So true. So true. Okay. So I want to ask you this. When you think about the side effects of denying your passions and settling and shutting down or waiting, well, I'll just wait until 10 years when, I'm retired and my parents are gone and my kids are in college and, I just have nothing else to do. Maybe then I'll do it. Like what is the negative impact when you shut yourself off from possibility?
So there's a lot that happens there. First of all, let me say this. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. If you're listening to this program and there's something you want to start now, start now, start now. But secondly, your gift, your passion, is not just for you. It is for someone else, right? Someone who's watching from afar who says, oh my gosh, if she did it, I'll be willing to try. Right. So when you don't do that, you diminish somebody else's opportunity to see that, yes, it is possible to start over at 50, to start over at 60, whatever age, start over at 70. I saw a dating coach online and she said, I got divorced in my late 60s and here she was looking fabulous. And how encouraging that was to me after being married for 27 years and getting divorced. Right. So what if she hadn't done that? I wouldn't have seen that. Right. So it's not just for you, even though you're doing it for you. Now imagine this, that you have whatever your passion, whatever you love, but you have a home in your house that is full of gifts. It's in the closet and they're beautifully wrapped from Tiffany's and all over the place, these beautiful stores. And you just open the closet every now and again and you look in there and you peek and say, oh, that's nice wrapping. And you close the door. That's what it's like when you say, I have a dream inside of myself and I won't even try. Right? Trying lets you open a new gift, a new door inside of you to discover more parts of you. And we're out here, ladies, looking for love, someone to love us, and we deny ourselves self-love. They say charity starts at home. It surely does. It starts with us taking care of ourselves.
That's amazing. So one of the last things I wanted to ask you is that I know that when we're talking about all these very external things, like we do the thing, we do the smiles, it's all very external, like what are we reacting to? And I know that you and I kind of both agree that the biggest obstacle, I think, for a lot of ladies is they don't feel worthy. They feel like, well, other people are more important than them, or I'm not capable, or I don't deserve that. Or I think it's even harder sometimes for those women that already have everything and that's supposed to make them happy, like the house of cards and it looks great on Instagram. Let's talk about the worthiness conversation for a minute before we end.
Oh, I love that you brought that up, right? So this is an inside job.
Yeah.
It is an inside job. Self-talk is really what you're talking about, right? So we have to watch. And as I said something earlier about, you treating yourself as though you were middle schoolers. To me, middle schoolers they're more emotional than our elementary schools. They hurt. Things happen and they really hurt. And you could say the wrong thing and I think probably scar them for life, whereas somebody in elementary school won't even remember it tomorrow, right? So when you're talking to yourself about your self-worth, right, it is very, very important that you use words of affirmation, even if you don't totally believe it just yet. So I want to give you a technique that I use with my clients, and it's called ending our day as a superhero, right? So most people, and I'll give you my story from yesterday, I go to bed feeling like so ashamed of something that you did previously. So 2 people yelled at me yesterday. So I figured when I lay down in bed, 2 people associated with my job yelled at me. And I said, I must not be a good communicator. That was the thought that I was taking into my dreams of me. I am not a good communicator because 2 people at my job yelled at me. And I stopped and I said, I can't fall asleep on that thought. I can't fall asleep on that thought. But that's the thought that was there. So we use it. And here's what I said. I said, Drayvon, you're an amazing woman. Because most people, when one person would have yelled at them, would have grabbed their pocketbook and had to go home for the day. But not only did you allow 2 people to yell at you, shake your confidence and continue to do the best you could in the workplace. My dear, you are a superhero. And I went to bed on that thought. So I encourage people, women especially, reframe the day. I don't care what happened. You're right there. You keep looking at that scenario. You keep twisting it around till you see value in how you were a superhero in that moment, and you go to sleep on that. It changes your mind. Your subconscious works on that while you're asleep. You wake up and little by little you start to change and you start to know that yes, you are worthy. We're not all the same. There are people who can do things way better than me, and there's some things I can do probably better than some people, right? But I have to first value myself if I want anybody else to value me. Start with the gratitude, start with reframing your day, and that self-talk is so important. Self-talk is amazing. What it can do from your mouth to your ears is the most powerful voice you'll ever hear.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. If you were to and I'm sure when we take all the notes from this show, there's just going to be this whole routine, right, of really creating possibility in your actions and your thoughts, and really reorienting to what is the purpose of life rather than the outcome. The journey really matters. And you're just brilliant. And I'm so grateful that,
you're so kind.
That you landed here. So amazing. Ladies, my headphones are really going to fall off. Hold on. I'm going to readjust without messing up my hair, but I will. Hold on. We'll probably edit that out. Ladies, The name of the show, let's all say it together. Life check yourself, right? What are we going to do? We're going to life check ourselves.
Yourself, absolutely. Life check yourself.
So this is the time where you listen to it again, you rewind it, you share with a friend, you take some notes, you cheat, and you look at the show notes. I want you to think of what is one action that you could take today. I mean, let's all just share our smile journals. Let's just start there. You are making such an amazing impact, and I am so grateful for you. And I wish you success on all of your fronts. And I hope that I see you on TV and be like, that girl was on my podcast.
Yes.
I know Dr. Drayvon James. What the hell? She's a pharmacist and a life coach and an actress. So great. And thank your son for the Sonic reference. Forever I will remember it.
Yes.
I hope he has a great 22nd birthday. Ladies, you can find me on Instagram, _Marnie_. You can find me on Facebook. Let's be friends. I have a brand new Substack community that I'm creating. So you can find me there. It's marniebatista.com/Substack or something. Just go on there and look for Unscripted. That's the name of it. But whatever you do, remember, this is your life and all things are possible and all things are not possible. So which things are you going to choose for yourself? Life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Listen, if you're feeling stuck, I want you to know you're not alone and you don't have to settle for it. I've created a free quiz to help you pinpoint what's draining your energy and exactly how you can fix it. So head over to decodeyourdestinyquiz.com and take the 60-second quiz right now. That's decodeyourdestinyquiz.com. And if you're ready to dive deeper, you can book a free no-obligation consultation at marnibatista.com/private coaching. That's Marnie, M-A-R-N-I, Batista, B-A-T-T-I-S, as in Sam, T-A.com/private coaching, all one word. Let's take the first step to creating a life you love on your terms. I'm Marnie, and I'll see you next time.